Welcome to another video. I want to talk about the many flaws of the DJI O4 Air Unit Pro that I came across after a long time of using it extensively. And let me tell you guys, these are some things that I didn't anticipate whatsoever. And I was one of the first people who was very confidently saying that this is going to be one of the biggest release in FPV ever. And I still think this is true. I still think we do not need an external action cam anymore and can solely rely on the O4 Pro. But still, there are some use cases in which the O4 Air Unit Pro is simply terrible. These use cases will make you get really mad, as I did. Yesterday I had an incident which was basically the final straw, the final nail in the coffin, which made me want to make this video. First of all, let me preface this by saying that I've been flying the O3 for over a year now. I've not been flying FPV for too long, to be fair, about 1.5 to 2 years almost, closing in on 2 years. And I've been crashing the O3 as hard as you cannot imagine, okay? I have this bad boy here, pretty super strong 5-inch apex frame that I flew into the ground like a complete retard, because I decided that I do not need the simulator and can just learn out in the field, which I did after about 2 hours of flying in the simulator and becoming pretty nauseous. I don't know why, but I hate flying in the simulator. It will never change. I will probably never do it, but that's a different story. What I want to say is that this thing has been battle tested like nothing else. I've been wrecking the O3s since the moment I had them, and I have 3. Okay, I have 4 camera units, 3 transmission modules, and of course a bunch of antennas. That being said, I didn't manage to destroy any component of the O3, except one. One time I actually didn't have the air unit mounted properly in here, and on a hard crash it just ripped out of the frame. The UFL connectors did not get destroyed, although those from the antennas get ripped off, but the camera cable also got fully ripped off. This connector did not get destroyed either. So the core unit transmission module was perfectly fine still. The only thing I had to exchange was an antenna and this braided cord here. One of my hardest crashes. I want to hammer home that this module is made so tough. You know, also the material. I don't know what it is, honestly. It's some hardened metal, kind of aluminum. I have no clue. And compared to the O4 Pro, this is definitely a more robust material. Is it heavier? It is. Is it a few grams that would have maybe made sense to not subtract? We can argue about that. Now, I don't know if you've gotten wind of it, but the UFL connectors for the antennas are very weakly attached that might just rip off on a crash. All right. And other than that, talking about the camera cable, I don't know if I have a sample here right now. Well, maybe you can see, maybe you know from your own air unit here that the cable is kind of going down, right? It's not like from the O3 that it's just going out. It's like going to the side. And this side here, the shorter side, is actually like coiled in. So every time you kind of like pull, you pull on the cables on the inside here, okay? Which inevitably leads to the cable breaking. I had a cable rip, which out of the 3 air units basically made 1 air unit unusable anymore. Where I am currently, you cannot order the camera cables. I've heard that you cannot order them at all anywhere. I'm pretty sure that will change. But for now, I'm just left with an unfunctional air unit just because the cable design is that bad. And let me tell you, I'm not a very rough person when it comes to handling my electronics, okay? This is a very little annoying drone, for example, small frame, ducts, all this. I'm very fine-tuned. I can handle these things, but this cable just ripped. I'm sure there will be third-party cables that will be the same way as the original O3 cable, just coming out straight, every cable the same length. But as of now, we're stuck with these. Let's talk about the camera module, okay? The big improvement from the previous O3. You know that the O4 is significantly bigger than the O3. It's also significantly longer, which means that basically all of your frames will not properly work. They can work with adaptation TPU prints or whatsoever, but the biggest issue is that it doesn't really recess properly. If you can see the mounting holes, they're super far away. Compare that to the mounting holes of the O3, they're in the middle. Meaning, every frame that you use will put the camera out there. In the Apex frame, for example, you cannot even adapt it yet, but I have this 7-inch Apex frame, which is basically the same as the 5-inch, and you can see that with a TPU that's already pretty far recessed, the camera is still sticking out fully. Meaning, on a head-on collision, you will 100% certainly crash with the camera first. This actually also happened with this little guy here. As you can see, the camera isn't fully terribly out there, although it is, but the battery is mounted down here, for example, and I crashed and broke the lens. I'm not sure if you can see that properly, if it's focusing right, but there are like 3 glass elements in this camera that are broken. And this would have simply not happened with the O3. I say that first and foremost because most frames are very easily able to house the O3 properly so that it is recessed. Okay, you can see here the camera is simply not sticking out. You first hit with the motors, then you probably hit with the front or bottom of the frame, and then you might hit the ND filter. Now this isn't necessarily a problem from the O4, it is simply a problem for the frames that we have at the moment. And if you come like me from the previous generation, you don't necessarily want to just update all your frames and buy a shitload of new ones. I did not, so I used these TPU prints to house a camera. Speaking about the mounting holes and how you put them in, I've taken this camera module apart, and DJI could have designed the mounting holes so that they're a little more deep inside the body. In there obviously is not a lot of space, but it is enough to make the threads longer. The threads are not very long. They're probably the same depth as in the O3, but I also believe that it might be a different material or something. That's why it's a little lighter. I mean, this is certainly plastic now that I look at it. But what I want to say is that these threads, as you tend to mount them on one hole alone, as in this build, and also as in this build, are very prone to being fried. On this one, I probably fried the bottom ones, I cannot exactly say. So now that I've done so, I have even less options of mounting them in a frame. I don't know what DJI thought about this, making them so small. The same is true with these holes here, the internal ones. I've also fried a thread on these, and I'm not a very rough person. I can only repeat myself, you know. I have a lot of feel. I can understand when a thread is too tight and too much pressure applied on it, or when it's not. And in this case, it just burned through. It just fried. It just got wrecked, okay? We have the mounting holes, very bad design. We have the recessed camera module, also bad. But a lot of that is obviously due to the frames that we have available at the moment. The next thing that cannot be very well fixed with big frames is the large front glass element. And now, obviously, it's a trade-off, right? We have a bigger sensor, and with that comes a bigger glass front element. No surprise here. Just keep in mind that it is going to be very prone to getting hit, as it did with this thing. I can only repeat myself, I had millions of crashes with an O3. I've flown it like a complete idiot, and I've not once legitimately damaged the front glass element. I maybe flew this drone for 1 week, had one pretty nasty crash, I gotta admit, but completely fucking broken. This would have not happened with the O3. The problem is not only that it's a bigger surface area to hit, it's also going to result in less surface tension. This is a fully rounded, small glass element on this one. This one isn't rounded. I don't know how this lens works. I'm not a camera expert or whatsoever, but this has not the same bulbous front element, and it is larger, which means that impacts will just break the surface tension way easier than on the original O3. It happened to me, it will probably happen to you if you crash semi-badly. But obviously, usually we fly with an ND filter, right? So that we can expose our shot properly and that we can protect the front glass element, right? On this crash, I had an ND filter and it broke and the lens broke. So a lot of the impact from the crash already got taken away from the ND filter, but regardless, it just fully decimated several layers of glass with this crash. And also the problem with the ND filters on this iteration of the air unit is that the mounting system is simply abysmal. I do not know why DJI thought of this as the best way to mount ND filters on cameras that are probably going to take a lot of impact. There's no screwing, there's no secure tight fit whatsoever. It is simply a terrible design. I had the same impression with the design from the O3. I lost quite a few ND filters with this one, but in the short amount of time that I flew the O4, I lost probably twice as many as I lost with the O3. It is ridiculous. And in that effect, I've tried a lot of different brands and none of them really fit that well. None of them are really super tight and secure, and they're not the same from the Avara. Another thing that's pretty weird, they don't fit the same. I have a few for the Avara that absolutely don't fit on this one. But regardless, the same mounting system from the O3 is on the O4, but due to the fact that this is simply further spaced apart than these prongs here, will inevitably give it less tension to hold on. You will see yourself lose a load of these filters, as I have. I actually taped some of them to the camera. That helped, but it's also pretty ridiculous because then I can't change them for different lighting conditions. The grand finale, which made me actually do this video in the first place. I was like, you know, most of these things are negligible. I can look past them. It's a new model, it's a better version, it's not meant for freestyle. But here we have one of the things that really pushed me off the edge, which is not being waterproof at all. Now you're thinking, well, the O3 isn't waterproof either. But actually, I believe that the O3 is waterproof. This transmission module and the camera. I've dumped probably 5 O3s, some of these modules twice, in very murky, nasty water. None of these had any issues whatsoever after, okay? And none of these were coated either. I just took them out, took them apart, put everything in alcohol, rinsed it off with a toothbrush, let it dry, and all of them still work the same. Tons of crashes, water exposure, water submersion, none of these died on me. Here we have an O4 Air Unit Pro. Can you see this white thing in there? These are several layers of conformal coating. I just dumped this in a puddle yesterday. First submersion with the waterproofed O4 Pro and it broke. No idea what it is, maybe it's short-circuited, no clue. I put it in alcohol, put it in the sun, it just doesn't work anymore. And yes, I took it apart fully, okay? I unscrewed everything. I even sealed the SD card slot, had like a little plug in the USB-C slot. It's done, okay? These are all the problems I ran into with the O4 Pro. And if you're a beginner, if you are not ready to spend so much money on all these little parts that you always have to exchange with the ones that you break, then I would not recommend you to fly this thing. If you are a freestyle pilot, just stick with the O3. Except if you're really damn good and you know for a fact and from experience that you just never crash. I'm into this for quite a while now. Not super long, I'm closing in on 2 years, but I'm a very confident pilot by now. If I do not want to crash, I really usually don't. If I fly securely, cinematic, I do not crash. Still, it happens here and there that there is some lapse of judgment that probably everyone will run into. And if you then cannot afford a new camera module, that is unfortunate, but you might just crack the O4. It's still a great product. It should have been a little more robust, but it's not, unfortunately. So this is everything I can leave you with. Be careful what you buy. I have 3 more O3 modules left, 4 cameras in total. And I will, until the end of time, thrash these in my freestyle flights. I will probably have them until the end of time, as I, as mentioned, have not managed to destroy a single O3 whatsoever. So if you're a freestyle pilot, which has been on the previous O3, you do not want to upgrade. Probably nobody cares about your quality. And also, if I gotta be completely honest, when it comes to the quality difference of the O3 and 4, there is maybe 1.5 stops of better dynamic range. Obviously, the low light capabilities of the O4 are better, but if you fly in bright daylight, it is actually magnificent how good the quality of the O3 can be at times. And again, I say this as a pixel peeper. I'm used to some big boy stuff. I'm not used to no phone videos or nothing. I'm used to the real deal. And I say that during bright daylight, proper, perfect lighting conditions, this O3 is everything and more that you can wish for. If you overexpose it by 1 stop, what most people don't know, because the shadows of the O3 are just so abysmally crushed. This one is better in low light or semi-optimal conditions, which is great, you know, for cinematic builds. This is not a freestyle drone whatsoever. I still crash from time to time. And if you do crash from time to time, you definitely want to consider if it's a good idea to invest in this. With a big 7-inch, I do not have a problem. I will probably not crash this, only if I really mess up. But this is not an acrobatic drone that goes into tight gaps and stuff. I hope you like this video. I'm not really uploading on this channel much at all at the moment anymore. You can subscribe to me. Maybe I will upload more. Who knows? I got a lot of tech stuff to talk about, a lot of videography insights, drone lifestyle stuff. I'm currently here in Bali, as many influencers and video creators are. But apart from that, thanks for watching. Peace. I see you in the next video, maybe, potentially. Have a good one.